Section 6. Habits and change. Your identity is the sum of repeated moral choices. Contents. 1. Introduction. The moral architecture of the soul. 2. From temperament to habit. 3. Habituation and virtue. 4. The role of pleasure and pain. 5. The inner pull toward completion. 6. The power of small changes. 7. Your turn. A reflection prompt.
Every human soul is drawn to something, to virtue, to love, to goodness, to beauty. We are not indifferent, we respond. But what is the highest good, the ultimate form of attraction? According to Aristotle, it is happiness, not pleasure, not luck, but the completion of the self. That structure in the LAFE moral gravity program consists of 3 layers. At the core, your temperament. In the middle, your virtues and love. On the surface, your pleasures, pains, emotions and desires. By refining the core, your temperament, and practicing virtue and love in the middle layer, you transform the way you experience pleasure and pain on the surface. Pain and pleasure come in 2 forms, bodily and spiritual, and it is the spiritual that is harder to understand. As Montaigne observed, we are too complex to feel pure pleasure or pain. They are always mixed, always shifting, always unique to time and person. What matters is not how we feel, but whether the inner structure is progressing, whether the soul is moving toward its own completion. When the inner structure develops, moral gravity begins to pull us inward. We start to move, not toward escape or distraction, but toward our own better selves. And here's the beautiful paradox. The more we grow inwardly, the more we can love and respect who we are becoming, not in a shallow narcissistic way, but with reverence. We begin to feel pain when we harm or devalue the self we now respect. This is where the change begins, on the surface layer of the soul. When you start to feel that kind of pain, you know something deeper is forming. And when you recognize the good that has taken shape within you, when you see that virtue not as an idea, but as a real part of your being, there is no greater joy. That is what happiness truly is. Geniuses may reach this on their own, but very few do. That's why the LAFE Moral Gravity program exists. With this program, anyone with commitment and courage can shift into genius mode. In this section, Ava will guide you through how this change begins. Let's hear from her now.
Welcome back. In the last section, we looked inward to understand how our temperament shapes the way we relate to others. Now we turn to something even more dynamic. Habits, the repeated actions that define the arc of our lives. Aristotle once said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. In this section, we'll explore how small moral choices, made again and again, can shape who we become, not just in public, but in the privacy of our soul. We'll also see how the virtues, when practiced regularly, can transform the way we feel, think, and even desire. And as always, we'll connect this journey to the structure of the soul and the pull of moral gravity that guides our inner growth. Let's begin. Hello again. Let me begin this section with a simple truth. We become what we repeatedly do. This idea, famously expressed by Aristotle, is more than just a nice quote. It's the foundation of character. Our soul is not fixed. It is shaped slowly, steadily by our habits. And habit is not just repetition. It is repetition with meaning, with intention, with moral gravity. Think of your soul as a living structure, with a central core, a moral center, and a surface layer. This architecture is not passive. It responds to your choices. And over time, those choices become who you are. That's why even small acts of courage, kindness, or self-restraint matter. They are not just good moments. They are building blocks of your identity. In this section, we will see how the architecture of the soul changes with habit, and how that change can be the beginning of something extraordinary. Let's take a closer look at the three-layer model of the soul, a structure you've seen before. At the center lies temperament, your natural emotional rhythm, energy, and style of interaction. It's the part of you that feels almost unchangeable. Surrounding that is the layer of virtue and love, the part that can grow through awareness, discipline, and moral effort. And finally, the outer layer, emotions and desires, your shifting pleasures, pains, and impulses in daily life. Here's the key idea. Your inner formation, the development of virtue, shapes how you experience the outer world. A person with well-formed virtue may feel anger, but act with restraint. A person whose inner compass is unclear may follow every emotional gust. Moral gravity is this, the natural pull toward inner completion, toward becoming someone your soul can admire. That pull isn't always strong. It may feel weak at first, but with practice, it becomes clearer and begins to guide your habits. And habits, not moods, are what shape your moral identity. Let's explore how habits shape our soul. Aristotle believed that we become virtuous by doing virtuous acts, not just once, but over and over. He called this habituation. Courage, temperance, justice, they are not gifts. They are built, like muscles, through repetition. Montaigne, writing centuries later, observed something similar. Humans are always in motion, in flux. We change from day to day. But habits give us a structure, a moral architecture that keeps us from dissolving into chaos. So, if our emotions are like the weather, then habits are like the climate. They set the tone of our soul. And the good news is, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to begin and keep going. Let's talk about pleasure and pain, the outermost layer of the moral gravity model. We often think of pleasure and pain as simple reactions. A smile when we're happy, a flinch when we're hurt. But in reality, they are deeply shaped by the inner structure of the soul. There are two kinds of pleasure and pain, physical and psychological. The first is obvious: hunger, exhaustion, physical affection. But the second is far more subtle: the shame we feel after betrayal, the joy that comes from helping a friend, or the guilt that lingers after a selfish choice. And here's the key. As the soul grows in virtue, these emotional responses begin to shift. Old habits that once felt good may start to bring discomfort. Lies, envy, or selfish acts no longer sit right. They feel off. And on the other hand, acts of courage or restraint, even if difficult, begin to bring a deeper kind of joy. This is the beginning of emotional transformation, not by suppression, but by realignment. When your soul's architecture matures, pleasure and pain start to guide you, not away from discomfort, but toward what is noble, good, and worthy of you. Let's take a closer look at how this transformation unfolds. Let's go deeper. When your soul begins to grow, when you start to shape it with virtue, something else awakens. A pull, a direction. You start to feel an inner movement toward your own completion. This isn't about pride. It's not about thinking you're better than others. It's about recognizing that there is something good and beautiful in you, something worthy of care. True self-love isn't selfish. It's reverence for the good that is growing inside. And here's the shift. Once you begin to honor that goodness, you become more sensitive to what harms it. A toxic habit, a degrading relationship, even your own thoughts that tear yourself down. What once felt normal now feels wrong. Because your soul knows, I deserve better. That's not arrogance. That's moral clarity. You are beginning to protect the dignity of your soul. And that, too, is virtue. Big changes often start with small steps. When we try to transform all at once, we feel overwhelmed. But when we focus on one habit, just one small, repeatable action, we begin to reshape the architecture of the soul. Each moral habit we build is like a brick in the structure of our character. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Waking up 5 minutes earlier to reflect. Speaking kindly when frustrated. Pausing before judging. These moments, repeated, have power because the soul responds to repetition. The more you act in line with virtue, the more your soul begins to desire virtue. And slowly, quietly, you begin to change. You don't need to be perfect, but you do need to begin. The smallest action, if rooted in virtue, can set your whole life in a new direction. So in this slide, we ask, what small change will you choose this week? let's take a quiet moment together. You've come a long way. You've explored the structure of your soul, its temperament, its longing for virtue, and the shifting tides of emotion and desire. You've seen how your past, your family, and your environment have shaped the way you feel, react, and relate. But now, you're beginning something new. You are no longer just reacting. You are recognizing. Maybe for the first time, you're learning to look at your own soul, not with fear or shame, but with quiet respect. Because the person who learns to honor their inner order and to love what is good within themselves no longer needs to prove their worth through appearances, not through success, not through wealth, not through admiration. Their soul begins to shine from within. And when that happens, they connect to others not through show or status, but through virtue, trust, and peace. That is the kind of society we can build when people begin to love the person they are becoming. So now ask yourself, what small habit could you begin this week? Not to impress, but to nourish your soul? A daily moment of courage, a pause before anger, a simple act of kindness. Choose one and begin. In the next section, you'll see how these small choices open up something far greater, a way of living that reaches beyond yourself and touches the world.
You've now seen the architecture of your soul. You've seen that your emotions and desires, what many people mistake for their identity, are just the outermost layer. Beneath them lies something deeper, the virtues you long for, the love that gives order to your being, and deeper still, your temperament, the core structure of how you move in the world. When you understand these layers, you begin to see why the world feels the way it does. Why some people live from fear and image, while others live from peace and purpose. The difference is not wealth, it's not fame, it's not success. The difference is this: some people love the person they are becoming. Others do not even know they have a soul to love. And when people do not love themselves, they must prove themselves, through performance, through power, through endless striving. That is the society we live in, a society built on the outermost layer. But you now know something different. You've seen that the soul has structure, that it can be shaped, that it can be loved. And when enough people live from that inner order, a different kind of society becomes possible. A society of dignity, trust, and quiet strength. That is what this program points toward. Not just personal change, but a shared future grounded in the gravity of the soul. In the final section, we'll look at how to live this way, not just once, but again and again, until it becomes who you are, and the world you shape.